She's going to give us a little bit information about birds and how to identify them and stuff like that and things about nature. So I'm ready to give her a warm welcome and a round of applause. Good.
Here, you all have a beautiful place. Just as I was getting out of the car, I saw a bunch of different kinds of birds. There was a kingfisher, an osprey, which is a fish-eating bird. I herons out here too, I've heard. Cormorants. Everybody hear me? Thumbs up if you can hear me. No? Yes. I'll talk a little bit louder. Is that better? I'll do my best, sorry. So we're going to talk about how to know birds and identify different kinds of birds in your area. That's better. Did you just turn it up? Awesome. Get to know the different birds that live in your area. So around here in Baldwinsville, you're going to have many different water birds. Nice quote that I like about birds. Every human being looks to the birds. They suit the fancy of us all. What they feel, they can voice as we try to. They court and they nest. They battle with the elements. They are torn by two opposing impulses, a love of home and a passion for far-off places. Only with birds do we share so much emotion. So birds are very special because we get to watch them migrate and travel really long distances, but they also keep coming back to the same place over and over. Feeders around or a river such as you all have here, because you can keep seeing those birds in the springtime when they return. To have when you're watching birds are binoculars. So these binoculars that I have right here, the brand of these is called Vortex. Some other kinds of binoculars I really like are the Nikon binoculars, just as an example. And I recommend getting 8x42 binoculars, which I wrote down in that little handout that you all should have received. 8 means that they zoom in 8 times, so they're 8 powered. And 42 is the width of the lens on the binoculars. Oh, great, we're passing around the handout. So 8 power means you're going to get a lot of light in your binoculars, a nice field of view, and it won't be too hard to hold them still. These ones here are 10 power, which is a little bit more hard to hold them still because they're so powerful sometimes. Also, a field guide is a very useful thing to have. If we would like to pass these around so people can look at them, I brought a few different field guides. This one is called the Peterson Guide to Birds of Eastern North America. Favorites. Because when you open it up, it has little arrows that point to some of the help you identify these birds. So that's really cool. At Baltimore Woods, we also have a lot of these little pamphlet guides. And these are nice because you can carry them very easily in your backpack. And they're not heavy or anything. They show many different kinds of birds. So if we would like to pass these around so folks can look at them, that would be great. Thank you. Field guides, you want them to be local for the area where you live. And it's good to have field guides with drawings in them, because sometimes photos will be maybe a little bit blurry, or they might not show the whole bird quite as well as a drawing. And you want it to be user-friendly, not too heavy, something you can carry around. And showing different poses. For example, birds that are flying and birds that are sitting perched. And a keen eye, birds can sometimes really blend well with their surroundings. So in this photo, we have a Cooper's hawk that's really blending in with the trees around it. At Baltimore Woods, we actually have Cooper's hawks that are nesting behind the building, which is pretty cool because we get to back and forth with their food and everything. Thinking about how we're going to identify and get to know these birds, size is one characteristic we can use, but size can be a little bit different. If it's really far away, it's going to be hard to judge the size, right? But if you have two different each other, that's good because you can compare the size. The shape of the bird is helpful. So, for example, does it have a really long tail? Does it have pointed wings? Things like that. I see some gulls that are flying around out there. So gulls are going to have pointed wings, and their wings are kind of like in an M shape. If you all have ever seen like paintings, like Bob Ross paintings, for example, you have the little M shape of the gull flying. That's a helpful clue that you're looking at a seagull. Here we can see a few different birds, and you can take a look at their shape. The wren has a tail that kind of goes up in the air. Wrens are really cute. Their tails stick up. And then these woodpeckers have an interesting shape because they use their tail kind of to brace against the tree. They can go up and down a tree. The common grackle has a very long tail and kind of a skinny body shape. And then the Cooper's hawk is going to be kind of a more compact bird, and they're pretty big. Just a few examples. And then you have silhouette. So a lot of the time when you're looking at birds, it's not going to be a bright, beautiful, sunny day like today. It might be dark and cloudy. So sometimes you can only see the silhouette. Does anyone know what this one is, for example? Yeah, so great blue herons, you probably have many of them out here. And then we have an owl. I actually brought in an owl that we're going to show you all a little bit later. This one here is a hawk. So you also want to get to know silhouette for flying because that's kind of different. Getting to know birds flying. It takes some practice also to focus with your binoculars. One tip that I always want to find the bird with your eyes first. And don't take your eyes off that bird and then bring your binoculars up to look at it. Because if you look down like you're getting your binoculars, you might lose the bird. So it takes a little bit of practice. There's a better close-up of that heron. Got really long legs for wading in the water and a long neck. A few more close-ups. Oh, so this one here is a seagull. Probably a ring-billed gull if I had to guess. And the other thing you want to keep an eye out for is field marks. So markings, for example, a line through the eye might be one field mark, like this. On the red-tailed hawk, you might see these markings on the front side of the wing. Those are called patagial marks. And this is kind of an overwhelming slide, I'll be honest, but there's many different parts of birds if you do want to get to know them. But I do like how they organize kind of the different parts into different colors, so it's a bit simpler. What I would recommend is looking at books like that Peterson guide, because you'll have those arrows that point to all the important field marks. So, for example, you have some great field marks on this white-throated sparrow. It has a white throat, little yellow spots right in front of the eye, and a line through the eye, as well as a crown. The ruby-crowned kinglet has a ruby crown and a little eye ring around the eye, too. This is one of the smallest birds around here. They're almost as tiny as a hummingbird. Wingars is another great field marker. So sometimes you get these white lines across the wing. Many birds have. And you might get things like spots and stripes, like on this flicker, which is a woodpecker. The cedar waxwing is really cool because it has little waxy tips on the ends of the wings, as well as this yellow line at the end of the tail. You see an eye ring, kind of like the kinglet had, a ring around the eye. So one of my favorite things about birds is listening to them, listening to their calls. And here's another nice quote. We judge bird song not by quality nor even by its creativeness, but by its effect on the human spirit. It's even if you don't know what a bird is, it's right. And I like this one too. Look for birds with your ears. So I thought it would be nice to play a few bird calls. I have an app on my phone that's ID. And this bird is called a winter wren. So let's play this one. And technical difficulties, it disconnected from this thing. Sets itself off, that's why. Here we go. Let me just try one thing to make it louder. While we're waiting for it to connect, the winter wren is one of my favorite songs because these birds have really complicated songs, and we hear them at Baltimore Woods in the So you'll be walking along in a really quiet woods, and all of a sudden you hear this bird just bursting into song. Still connecting. That's all right. We'll move on and see if it connects in a minute. So I'm sure this bird is familiar to a lot of people, the robin. And they will often retreat to the woods in the wintertime. People often talk about them leaving in the winter, but sometimes they're just going out to the woods where they eat berries. And then they completely change their diet in the spring and summer. They eat a lot of worms and insects. So they're very adaptable. There we go. So let's go back to that winter wren. Ready? There we go. Isn't that an amazing song? And this is a really tiny bird, right? It's only about the size of like a chickadee. So they weigh about like 7 or 8 grams. Speaking of chickadees, I love this one because the name of the call is actually in the bird's name, or how it sounds is in the name. So let's play the chickadee. Chickadee dee 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 dee. My favorites. They also have a beautiful whistled song. The other reason I love chickadees is because they're really kind of gotten chickadees to eat seed right out of my hand before, which is pretty fun. So once they get to know you and they know that you're not a scary threat or anything, they will come right up to you when you're filling up those bird feeders. The tufted titmouse is a relative of the chickadee. They're really cute too, and they have a little crest on the top of their head. The cardinal is a favorite of many people. Yeah. So the male is this beautiful head. I think the female's very pretty too, though. She has like this kind of subdued brown color and just a little bit of red on top of the crest and on her tail and wings. And a bright. So cardinals really like sunflower seed, and you'll often see them come to bird feeders like at the end of the day or really early in the morning. House finches, they have, in the case of the male, they have this red color, and the female looks kind of the same as the male, but without that red wash over the head. Common grackles, I think, are some of the prettiest birds. They have this beautiful iridescent shine on their head. Some get a little bit annoyed by them because they take over in big flocks when they come to your bird feeders. But I still think they're beautiful. They just like to be in big groups, and they're a little bit noisy. And this is a little downy woodpecker. I love downies. They're the smallest woodpecker that we have around. Suet feeders. So in the wintertime, you'll see more of them coming to suet. The blue jay is another one of my favorites. A nice crest, and they can actually imitate. They'll go jay, jay, but they can also imitate a red-tailed hawk. So they'll make that sound like a red-tailed hawk sometimes. And it's thought that they might be doing this to scare other birds away when they come into the bird feeders. They say, oh, let's scare those birds away so I can get all that seed. The house sparrow is an introduced bird, but they really like to hang out around cities and towns and farmland. So you might see them at bird feeders too. They actually come from Europe, though. That's originally where they're from. Mockingbird is really cool too because birds. I actually knew a mockingbird that I kept seeing coming to the same tree. It imitated 33 different types of sounds. I made a whole list. So that included not only birds, but crickets and like car alarm sounds. So pretty cool. Let's play one of them too. Mockingbird. I could have made a playlist, but you gotta search all these individually. Here we go. So there it's doing blue jay. Not sure what that one is. Flying around. Blue blue jay again, flicker. So they'll go on, and sometimes nighttime, which is pretty cool. The Baltimore Oriole is another one of my favorites. They actually like to, if you nail like an orange, half of an orange, to a post or a fence or a tree, they will come and drink the nectar from that orange. They also love grape jelly. So let's talk a little bit more about feeding birds. I noticed that you all have some feeders out there. I'm not sure how often those get filled. Is that just like a wintertime thing or every now and then?
We were told that they didn't need so much berries and stuff around.
Yeah, so that's what we do at Baltimore Woods too. We don't feed the birds in the summer, but in the wintertime. Is that what you do here too?
Right.
Nice. So here I'll share some tips. This presentation was put together by Cornell Lab of Ornithology, which some of you may have heard of. It's a really well-respected institution in Ithaca. So there's a few different kinds of seed you can use. Corn is really good for things like mourning doves and pigeons. With millet. Suet is nice for woodpeckers. That's a favorite of woodpeckers and chickadees. My favorite thing to feed birds, black oil sunflower seed, because you'll get the most variety that way. A lot of times people think, oh, we should feed the mixed seed, that will get us variety. But actually that usually attracts house sparrows, and then the house sparrows chase everybody else out because they're bullies. So I would recommend black oil sunflower. It's really good for cardinals, chickadees, tufted titmice, lots of different sparrows. Fruit is another thing that birds will eat. Sometimes birds that aren't going to eat seed will eat fruit, like that robin up here. And then mealworms are great for things like bluebirds. The tufted titmouse is enjoying a mealworm there. So you want to make sure that your feeders are safe for the birds, that they're very easy to clean, especially because some of you may have heard there have been outbreaks. A couple of years ago, there was some kind of disease that was a little mysterious that was killing birds. So you want to be mindful of that and make sure to clean them. And make sure that they're sturdy so that they can't get like destroyed or knocked over by a squirrel. Hopper feeders are nice. We have one of these at Baltimore Woods. Very sturdy. And then tray or platform feeders are good so you can get some of the bigger birds like this turkey up here. Nectar feeders are awesome for hummingbirds, so that's something that you could put out at this time of year. They do take a little bit of maintenance though. You have to clean them at least once a week. And I will do like a 1-to-4 ratio of sugar to water. And when I fill them, usually I'll boil the water to kill any bacteria, let it cool, and then fill up the feeder. They're really attracted to the color red. So red flowers are also nice if you want to plant some red flowers in the garden. And orioles really like nectar feeders too. And then tube feeders are another classic. Many of the smaller birds will. Niger feeders are great for finches. Sometimes you'll get like a really big flock of goldfinches visiting them. And those are easy to maintain. You can just take like kind of a sock that has holes in it and put some seed in there. peanut is great to put out in the wintertime. You don't want to put that out in the summer because they will feed it to their babies, and it's kind of like junk food for baby birds. The baby birds need a whole lot of protein, so they want to eat insects. But in winter, it's great because they need to put on fat and muscle so that they can stay warm in the winter. So suet feeders are usually like kind of a cage. You just have to be careful of somewhere where squirrels can't easily access them, because sometimes a squirrel will figure out how to open it up and pull the whole thing out, and you'll be going through suet cakes like crazy. Not that I don't like squirrels, but you also have to watch out for that. And peanut feeders are nice, or mixed nuts. You can put them in there, and the woodpeckers absolutely love that. You can make your own feeder too. It can be as simple as just taking some peanut butter and smearing it on a tree like that. Or taking like a suet ball with some seed and sticking it in a hole in a tree. It's important to provide good shelter for birds. So having things like shrubs and bushes around so they can hide if they see a hawk coming. Because if they see a bird feeder that's just out in an open field, they're going to go, oh, what if a hawk comes after me? And they might not come to the feeder. So they like having a bush that's really close to the feeder. And then bird boxes, like these bluebird boxes, are great if you want to have nesting birds around. Flowers that are pink or red are great for hummingbirds. They love that. And it's a little easier to maintain than a feeder as well. Water sources, birds really like when you have bubbling water. So if you have like a bird bath that has a fountain on it, they're really going to like that, to come get a drink and take a bath too. Like I was saying, you want to be careful and make sure they have shelter so they can hide from hawks and other predators. And keep your feeders clean. I think they have a picture of a house finch here because house finches can get an eye disease if they come to feeders that a sick bird has been to. It's kind of like conjunctivitis. But if you keep your feeders clean, then you don't have to worry about that. And then cats are one of the largest human cause of deaths of birds in North America. Millions of birds die every year because of cats running around. It's also safer for the cat to have them inside because then they won't get eaten by an owl or a hawk. Breaks. It's good to have like screening on the outside of your window. Or something else that breaks up the reflection a little bit so the birds don't collide with the window. Feeder Watch, which is a really cool science project that we have. If anyone's interested in learning more about that, you can look it up on the Cornell website. Just search for Project Feeder Watch. We actually participate in this at Baltimore Woods, so we record all the birds that we see coming to our feeders, and they use that information to look at how the populations are changing. Quote, this was put together by my coworker Tom, and he really likes quotes. Nature is not a competition. It doesn't matter when you go out if you don't identify anything. What matters is the feeling. So it don't worry too much about knowing what all the birds are. Just enjoying them and watching them is a really special experience. And I've always loved birds since I was a little kid, like 8 years old. I guess I'll share too that my grandma was one of the biggest inspirations for me with birding. I actually told her I'd like to do one of these programs where she lives now. I think that would be nice. So let's see. We've got about 10 minutes officially left, but I'm happy to go a little bit longer too. I thought it would be nice now to show you all this owl. But before we do that, does anyone have questions that they'd like to share? Yeah.
Baltimore Woods. I've never gone there or know where it is.
It's in Marcellus. So it's about a half an hour's drive from here.
And what do you have there for us?
We have a nature center and we have miles of trails too. So we just also got an additional 90 acres and we're working on building some more trails out there. Wow.
When I lived in New Hampshire, we had pileated woodpeckers.
Oh yeah, we have those at Baltimore Woods too.
You do?
Yeah, and I used to live in New Hampshire also. We had many pileated woodpeckers because you have all that forest around, especially in the White Mountains. They really like dense forest. And they will come to suet feeders if you put out suet. I wouldn't be surprised if you had some around here, actually. They're the biggest woodpeckers we have. Are they on this poster? They would be in those field guides, though. Really woodpecker. Any other questions? All right, I'll bring this up. Screech owl, an eastern screech owl. And we have these at Baltimore Woods. They're nocturnal, so they're going to be active at nighttime. And they have these little tiny ear tufts. I'll say ear in quotes because they're not actually ears. But they will stick up these little tufts of feathers to blend in with the trees surrounding them. We have a tree where we have a screech owl that hangs out and you can see it in the daytime. That's pretty neat. I don't know if it would be possible well, no, I think I can do this with a mic. It'll work. So if you look at the talons, they're really sharp. Yeah, so they can grab onto little rodents. There, that's better. Now you can hear me better too. Eyes. And their eyeballs are actually fixed. So they can't turn their eyes from side to side. Yeah. And this is one of the smallest owls that we have around. Used to work at a 4-H center where we had a live screech owl. But this one is just taxidermied, so it's stuffed. Yeah. It would be pretty quiet if it was alive, yeah.
He's very pretty.
Yes.
Why did it happen to die so you could have it stuffed?
So it was found, that's a great question. It was found out in the woods somewhere. We don't really know how it died, but natural causes, hopefully. Each owl comes in 3 different colors. This one is like a brown more, but sometimes they're red or gray.
They eat mice, they say.
They do. They eat mice and sometimes birds too.
Oh.
Pretty varied diet. So sometimes they'll eat frogs.
Everybody got one. I got them. Everybody's got them.
Hi, buddy. I wonder what he thinks of this.
He's looking.
Did you guys get a good look over here? Yeah. Called camouflage, which means they blend in with their surroundings really well. They have all these patterns. I think the brown birds are actually some of the prettiest birds because they have all those. Oh, that's a really good point. So owls have a special adaptation, so they're really hard to hear when they fly. And that's so they can sneak up on their prey. The front edge of their wing is kind of like the teeth of a comb on the front of it. You might be able to. Oh, their feedback. Am I getting too close to the? Okay. Yeah, so they're pretty much silent when they fly. If their wings aren't making a lot of noise in their ears, they want to be able to hear. They can turn their head three quarters of the way around. We also have some other kinds of owls. The great horned is the biggest owl we have around here. And great horned owls have an incredible strength. When they grab something with their talons, oh, human. Here. Yeah, so like in New York. This one was found in New York. Feedback, I don't know where the thing is. Okay.
People know. Just the center.
All right. So in our nature center, we have other taxidermied animals too. So if you ever want to come visit us, you can see more of these animals. So the next thing I thought that would be nice would be to pass out some binoculars. Also look through the scope because we have some birds that are right out here. And I think it's about 8 pairs of binoculars right here that we can bring around. And then maybe we can form a line or something like that if you would like to look through the spotting scope. So I can show you all some cormorants and also mallard ducks out there. So when you get your binoculars, I'll show you. You can use this ring that's in the middle, this knob, and here when you're looking out there, okay? Or give it to somebody for a minute.
Yeah, I can do it.
Thanks. Can I turn it off?
Yeah, you can
Just hold the button.
Cool.
There you go.
Don't want it to fall. Yeah, so we can pass a few of these around.
Yeah, good.
Maybe raise your hand if you would like some binoculars, okay? Let's say that again. If you would like a pair of binoculars to look through, please raise your hand and I'll bring them around, okay? Great. You have glasses on. Great. So those should be good. Anyone else? Great.
You want me to bring it?
Yeah. Thank you. anybody else? Pairs, and we can pass them around a bit too. I will defer to you on how you think it's best to do this, but I can stand up by the scope and show people a few different things if they'd like to come up.
Okay, yeah.
So there's a little bit of a clear pathway here. Oh yeah, and the ducks are still in there. Awesome.
Is anyone interested in getting up to look through the binoculars outside at the view?
Great.
Yeah, if you guys just want to get in line. Or if anyone wants their own binoculars to look through. More.
Yeah. So here we have some mallards. Would you like to take a look in the scope?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a species of duck.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you want the microphone?
Sure. Thanks. Get that turned on. There we go. So right now I can see some mallards out there. Why don't I grab my own binoculars too? Then I'll be able to point things out a little better. And I could also email you guys a list of the things that I've seen so you can keep an eye out for them.
No, I just used the scope. Okay.
Oh, nice. I see a Caspian tern with some pigeons out there. I can put that in the scope. So there's a few pigeons sitting out there, and there's also a tern next to those pigeons. And a tern is a diving bird. It's kind of like a seagull. And the Caspian tern is the largest tern in North America. So they've got a big red beak and a black cap on the head. Let me put that guy in the scope if you'd like to see him. I don't want to be in your way though. A little bit. There we go. This is a pretty snazzy bird. You might want to take a look in here. The Caspian tern. Yeah. If anyone has a field guide out there, you might be able to find it in the field guide. And if you need to focus the scope for your eyes, there. So Caspian tern. Oh, there's another Caspian tern over here. You'll also have ring-billed gulls, which are a small seagull. It would be nice to see the osprey. He flew like right over my car right when I came in. "17 ospreys?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
We had 10.
No, I think you're thinking of a heron. They've got like a long skinny neck. Yeah.
Sorry, I meant
Okay.
there's a pair of ospreys.
Great. Fine.
Up the river, just a little ways, is a bald eagle.
Yeah. So cormorants, they stretch out their wings to dry their wings because they don't have the same kind of that they preen through their feathers that other birds have. So that's why you'll see them putting their wings up like this.
Oh, okay.
And they're log over there. There's at least 5 of them out there.
They often sit, about 30 of them across.
6 of them.
Now, where's the tern?
Yeah.
Did you see the tern?
All stars. There's a couple pigeons over there, over by like the yellow fence. On the other side of the dam.
You see him?
And there was another turn over by, oh, I can put it back in if the scope got moved.
Did you see him? Because he has a red.
The tricky thing is if you move this, if you think you're only moving it a tiny bit, it'll move like a bunch. Now give it a try. He's really pretty.
It's pretty. Because we haven't had one
Yeah.
since in the time or whatever.
Trees, yeah. And when you have a whole bunch of herons nesting together, it's called a rookery.
We got a rookery.
Over there.
How many nests do you have?
I think it's two. There's one in the large tree across, and if you go out on the deck, right down here in the brush,
Oh,
there's
cool.
some herons there.
Nice.
And that tall tree over there, and they're down here in the brush.
I also saw a kingfisher flying around. So that's like a small bird with a really long beak. I can play the sound that it makes because it's kind of loud. See if you recognize it. This probably shut itself off again though. Let's see. It sounds kind of like a jackhammer. It's super loud. And kingfishers are blue and white. Has anyone heard that before? Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
There's two eagles that come from time to time.
Mhm.
There's about 3 hawks, but I notice every time those larger birds come in, the rest of them disappear.
Oh yeah, they're especially the eagles. They're scaring them away. So eagles will eat really big prey. They'll eat ducks and seagulls.
Okay.
So when ducks and seagulls see an eagle, they're out of here.
Yeah, I've noticed that. He'll come in a circle and they disappear.
Yeah, and sometimes if there's enough of them, they'll get together and try and chase the eagle away. I don't know if you've seen that
I haven't
before.
seen that. No, usually they disappear. They move.
That's so cool that you have eagles out here too.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
got 2 that come from time to time.
nice.
Can I ask about the eagles?
Yeah.
I was told it takes 4 years from the time they're born until their color is fully what it should be.
That's
Is that
exactly
true?
right. Yeah.
4 years?
Sometimes it'll take like 3 years, 3 or 4 years.
So you really can't find as eagles unless they're fully.
Right.
You still can. You just have to know what you're looking for, though. So if I could find one of those guides, I can show you. Excuse me?
The ones right across the bridge, there's a little island where they all are.
Oh, nice.
I was told, wasn't it? Quite a few.
Oh, I guess it's not in here, but if we have the book one, yeah, the book should have it. The immature eagles are the same shape, but they have a brown head and freckles all over their body. Thank you. Wow, look at all this. That's cool. People think that they're seeing just a hawk when it's actually an eagle sometimes. So the immature bald eagle looks kind of like a golden eagle. Has white underneath the wings, but no white head. White head and white tail, but it takes a while.
You know, they're right island over there, and that's where they're right across the bridge.
Nice.
That's where most of them supposedly are.
I go to look for eagles at Onondaga Lake in Syracuse, and sometimes there can be like 100 of them at a time there. It's amazing. Yeah.
It's called on the walk, and they had to shut the walk off because of repairing it.
The creek walk, yeah.
Springtime.
And winter,
watching, if you
yeah.
go at the end of the mall, the Destiny Mall,
Mm-hmm.
at the far end of it, you can sit there and take.
That's right, yeah. You'll see people with their huge cameras out there. Does anybody have other questions about the birds?
Where do the cormorants and the seagulls go for winter, or do they all nest here locally?
So many of the cormorants, they might go to like the southeastern United States, and many of the gulls will stick around. You just might not see them being quite as active. They'll migrate short distances, but usually not very far. There's a lot of good resources online. If you go on like the National Audubon site, there's a bird tracker thing that shows you the actual routes of birds that they tracked. Like they put a GPS on the bird, a GPS backpack, and they track where they're migrating, which is really neat. Yeah.
Do you have the history of how the eagle became the bird of America?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't remember. I knew this at one time, but I do know that Benjamin Franklin wanted to be the bird. The eagle, and I'm not sure the history behind that. Does anyone else know? Some research into. I think Benjamin Franklin thought, well, the wild turkey is actually like it's kind of a nicer bird than the eagle. Things from people and from scavengers. Even though they're very majestic, they do like to go up to other birds and steal their food and stuff like that. Any other questions? All right. Thank you all so much for being here, for having me here. And keep birding. On that little, I left our email if you think of any other questions. Or if you want to share what you're seeing here, because you clearly have many birds around.